My name is Peter, recovered alcoholic. Forgive the voice. I have something and I can't shake it, so forgive me. Grateful to be alive and sober and part of a sacred place called Alcoholics Anonymous. And first things first, thank the group for having me and for Rosario for stalking me for the last few months to get up here. I felt like I was talking to my ex-wife a few times with this guy, but no, thank you for being so kind and taking good care of me. Grateful to be here and share the good news that was brought to me. June 23rd, 1988 is when a loving God separated me from alcohol, and I'm very grateful for this gift of sobriety. I'm very grateful to the many things that God has given me. But the longer I'm sober and the older I'm getting, I'm very grateful for the many things God has removed from me. And those are the things I thought I needed to be happy. If I can get this and I can get that and I can have this person and the money, property, and prestige and focusing on all the external conditions to remedy what was ailing me in here, I'd be okay. I would have arrived. And what God has done is create a lot of space between me and those things and made me small. I used to think I needed a bigger God. What I really always needed was a smaller me. So on June 23rd, 1988, my separation from alcohol, I didn't plan on doing this thing as long as I am. The truth is true until we discover a new truth, and we have these awakenings along the way. If we're chopping wood and carrying water and growing understanding and effectiveness, God will present new realizations, new aha moments to us. And it's been a number of years now that this kind of burst upon me out of a meditation about this whole journey that God has put me on, this spiritual walk. There's a lot of information out there. Information without transformation is useless. Knowledge received intellectually provides no nourishment for the soul. I know a lot of cats who can recite the big book. They're in the bar now. So it's about having this transformation. But what came to me was this walk in Alcoholics Anonymous, this spiritual walk, and what I need to do is get my soul food. And the music before the meeting, that you guys talking, and I'm listening, I observe a lot of things. It's the way God made me. It's the soul music that feeds me before the meeting starts. And it'll happen after the meeting's over. And that's what I'm attracted to when I walk in. You can feel the energy in a group. And sometimes there's a meeting in the car before the meeting and a meeting in the car after the meeting. That's the lifeblood of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's about relationships. This journey for me is about relationships. Starting with my relationship with God, yeah? I mean, who is my God? Who am I praying to? What does it look like? What does it sound like in the morning? Do I realize who I'm speaking to when I get on bended knee or I'm sitting in a chair? Or am I just checking another box and treating people like God and God like people? I went to this power in a place of being surrendered to please save my life, get me sober. But I go to other places to keep me happy and I get away from all of it. How are my relationships with other folks? I have found it to be incredibly painful, and sometimes there's a lot of work to get past this. Incredibly painful when I'm harboring grudges and resentments towards people. You know, when you hear their name and you get tight and you're dying to gossip about them? Somebody say something so I can jump right in. Or when they walk in the room and they got their big book under their arm and they're all happy, joyous, and free, and you're just grinding your teeth. Or perhaps we're thinking about people from the past, or and we're not okay, and it's just simply plaque on my soul. And I woke up one day realizing I can't afford to do that, and then come here and give you a talk about this power, what he's done for me. Then I'm a hypocrite. I can't afford to have plaque on my soul because I have alcoholism and not wasm, and I can die from alcoholism without ever putting a drink in me. My alcoholism doesn't come in a bottle of whiskey, it sits up in the head. I looked at this journey called sobriety. And it came to me one day like, I can do all the inventory I want, make all the meetings I want, help all the people I want, have 100 commitments, all of that stuff right in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous. And yet this thing called sobriety for a guy like me still hangs from a thread. I don't own it. As soon as I claim I got God, I've just lost it. It's like me telling you I'm a humble guy. I'm not. As soon as I think I got sobriety, I own it, it's falling through my fingers. And the reason why I say that is because I walk around with something that's going to be with me to the end of time, and that is this thinking mind. This mind wants no part of this meeting, wants no part of God or recovery. And when I take a look at some of the stress and the anxiety and the uncertainty and the doubt, that's not coming from the soul. The soul is perfect. It always knows where to go, what to say, and what to do. It's divine. When I'm attached to that, I'm traveling light. When I'm listening to my mind, I'm out there trying to arrange life to suit me. And here comes stress and anxiety and fear, and I'm not okay again. And that's the part of me that will take me out. So I can't stay sober based on an experience I had last week or last year. So I need to, and I speak for myself, growing in understanding and effectiveness. And what this has done for me is make me even hungrier to experience my God. It seems to be when I'm right with God, I'm okay with me, which means I'm going to be okay with you. And when one of those things are out of line, I'm not okay. I'm in collision with other people. It's way beyond not drinking. My alcoholism doesn't come in a bottle of whiskey, huh? So I have an option here. I could be traveling light in Alcoholics Anonymous. I could be traveling heavy and pretending I'm traveling light. Have all the little buzzwords, all the little quoting from the book. But if you follow me home, I look like a guy with one day back. That's no disrespect to the guy with one day back. But I know what one day back is. Actually, I don't even remember one day back. It's not good. And so when the big book says to drink is to die, that may not scare me or a lot of us in this room. It's almost like a solution. You mean I'll die and get this all out of here? Great. Where do I sign up? But when my sponsor presented with me one time, well, you may not die right away, but you might linger out there for years and years and years of suffering and humiliation and degradation and in and out and being one of those until we've crossed the line of no return. That's what's waiting for me. And yet I come into a place called Alcoholics Anonymous, the sacred rooms called Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm given all of this on a silver platter. And when I look back on my life, because we live life forward and understand it backwards, I realize I didn't even surrender. I thought I did for a long time, but in God's and His infinite mercy, I was surrendered on June 23rd of 1988. And I get to talk about that good news that was brought to me. I would tell you my separation from alcohol. I'm from Brooklyn originally. You can tell I'm not from like Oklahoma, by the way I speak. I come from an Italian family, man. It's interesting. We make the Sopranos look moderate. I mean, my family, when you say I love you, it sounds like a threat. It's very interesting crowd. But I wound up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Some of you guys might remember the place back in the day, in Alphabet City. And I was running through the streets down there, and I took up residency in the back of an abandoned building. That's where my life wound up, at the hands of alcohol and some non-conference approved dry goods. And I would linger on the streets and panhandle and steal and do a lot of the things you do when you're in that life. And bathing was the last thing on my mind, and so was eating. The first thing on my mind was hustling up some money, get to the liquor store, get a pint, maybe cop some pills, and then I'll wash it all away and then do it again and again. And there was so many times where I swore this was going to be it. But figuratively speaking, I was glued to a bar stool and I couldn't get out. Non-alcoholics don't understand that. I got to get home. I got to get to the kids. I got to get to the wife. I got to get to the husband. One more drink. And I will pay any price tomorrow to see comfort tonight. And that will follow me right into Alcoholics Anonymous. I'll make it up to them tomorrow. Right now, I need to do what I got to do. Suffering from untreated alcoholism while I'm making meetings in double-digit sobriety. My alcoholism it's happened. It goes underground and resurfaces in other areas. The sex sprees, the food sprees, the gambling sprees, the money sprees. Food got me. My first year and change. I had to go to another fellowship and sign up for therapy. I was getting very sick from this food thing I was doing. Not to say I didn't dabble in anything else. But I couldn't be present. I couldn't be okay. I just couldn't sit on the couch and enjoy the day. I needed something because I was so not okay in here. And something happens because of this work and this spiritual transformation, this personality change sufficient to bring about recovery from alcoholism. We're made new from the inside out. I learned a long time ago that the unmanageability that I suffer from is not out there. We live in a very volatile world right now. It's completely upside down. But I can't use that as my unmanageability because it's in here and how I'm navigating through it. I'm in the back of a hallway, and that's where I'm living. And I was hide out behind those old metal radiators. I had these construction boots, and the right boot was missing a front. I was wearing this turtleneck and a little zip-up jacket, and I had these blood-stained soiled pants on. And I'm sweating and cold at the same time. I have no clue I'm going through withdrawal. I'm vibrating. I'm always vibrating. And I got to a point where the alcohol wasn't even taking me there anymore. It was just kind of stilling my nerves a little bit. I remember trying to take my life a few years before I got sober, and I couldn't do that. I got to a point where I can't get drunk because it's not working. I can't get sober. I can't even kill myself. And I'm slammed with the trifecta, and I'm saying, why are you doing this to me? June 23rd of '88, God interrupts my life. God rescues me. God surrenders me. God gives me a sober date. Separates me from alcohol, because I have the ability to separate myself from alcohol. It's like two guys in a bar fight. You got to pull them apart before someone kills them. God had to get in the middle and pull it apart. I had no clue about Alcoholics Anonymous. I had 6 treatment centers behind me. I have no clue what alcoholism actually is, how deep the roots go. I just know I'm in pain all the time. But something happens to folks like us, because I've heard enough stories, and I know my story, that something happens with the emotional pain gets us, whether it's Park Avenue or Park Bench. When we get slammed right here, we suddenly are made teachable, because the mind is fickle. I want to get sober to be Moses on Monday and a Rambo on Tuesday. It doesn't work. Something happens deep down in the soul, and that's done for us. So I'm laying on this floor, this filthy floor in the back of an abandoned building, and the only light that illuminated the hallway was from a street lamp outside. It kind of broke through a crack in the wall. I come into Alcoholics Anonymous, and the whole path is illuminated with the 12 steps. I will tell you, there was a time I worshipped the Big Book and the steps. If you misquoted a book, we're going to have a talk after the meeting. And I found out that this is a treasure map. So I can worship the things that take me to God. I can worship the God, the things that take me to. And I come to on the floor of this hallway, and everything began to change. I will tell you, back then, I'm a cradle Catholic, and I despised God back then. I looked at God had taken my mom when I was 14. She was an alcoholic and a narcotic user, had mental health issues, and about a half a dozen attempts at suicide. She finally took her life when I was 14. I was stuck with a guy who was cunning, baffling, and powerful. I called him Dad. If anyone's ever seen the movie Goodfellas, that Robert De Niro guy, that was my old man. I was into like long hair and hippies and bell bottoms. He thought I was a communist. I mean, it just, it just never worked. And I hated God. Our Big Book says we look askance, and many people claim to be godly. I would look at them with contempt. And if you were a man and you were religious or spiritual, I looked at you as weak and cowardly. Men don't need God. God is for women and children. It's make-believe. Men got to do manly things. You don't depend upon a power you can't even see. And so by 1988, I despised God. I'm not proud to say that, but it's just my walk. But God doesn't care, because he doesn't have feelings that get hurt. He's all love and no opposite. And so I come to on the floor of this abandoned building, and I'm shaking violently. I know I need to go out and hustle, get some money, get to the liquor store ASAP. And I get up off the floor, and I collapse, as if someone hit me behind the knees, and down I go. And it felt like the fist of Gulliver punched me right in the chest, because everything began to change. It was a moment where desperation screamed louder than the ego, and there's a vacuum for God to get in, and we can experience that while we're out there, and we can experience that while we're in Alcoholics Anonymous, when we run out of road. There's no shame in that, but it happens. And I'm on the floor, and I begin to weep, uncontrollable. I can't stop crying. Again, live life forward and understand it backwards. I look back on it now. It was years of humiliation and betrayals and my mom's passing and how much venom I had for my dad in my life. And it just went on and on and on. The Rolodex of self-pity. And it all came out. This purging of tears. But something else happened. I was given a GOD, a gift of desperation. Now, I didn't smell or look godly. Nor did the hallway. But looking back on it now, it was completely divinely inspired. What I have found out, whether we're out there or in here, God will create an environment to get my attention, and my mind, which is my predator, will interpret it as punitive. And what God did was create this environment to corner me, to get my attention, where there was no hope. I ran out of road. I was done, and I knew it deep down in my soul. It was not a conclusion of the mind. How I survived that is really God's grace. In fact, I'll go out on a limb and tell you, Alcoholics Anonymous, if we think about it, makes absolutely no sense. The whole spiritual walk doesn't make sense. That we're gathered here on a Wednesday night. There's a lot of other places, based on our track record, we ought to be. And we're the black sheep of the family. We get fired from jobs. No one wants to touch us. Fast forward 5-10 years in sobriety, we become the pinnacle of our family. We become leaders in our family. We become best workers. We become spiritual. And suddenly the God I never wanted to talk to is the most important being in my life. It makes no sense. But I'm lying on this floor, and there was only one place I can go to. And I remember these words, and I pray I never forget them. It was, please take me from this, I don't want to die. I wasn't thinking about going to detox, or going to treatment, or going to Alcoholics Anonymous, doing 90 meetings in 90 days and being Moses. That wasn't on the horizon at all. I didn't know what to do. I don't know how to get out. Our big book says we tell you how we got out from under. I don't know how I'm going to get out from under. I'm buried too deep. I just don't want to die. And I'm so grateful God kind of erased the board. There was nothing on the eraser board. So I can be teachable. I don't know if I would have made it if I laid in that hole and says, okay, I should go to detox, then go to treatment, I'll go to AA, I'll get a sponsor, I'll do the steps, and I'll be great. Because that's me running the show again. I don't know what I need. I just don't want to die. Please take me from this. I don't want to die. And what happened? God connects the dots like he always does. I have found that praying help when the intent is pure is a whole prayer. I don't have to dazzle God with words because he gave me the words. And I'm not going to impress God by reciting the third step prayer. He gave that to us. It's his prayer. But sometimes help is a whole prayer. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just crying, and I'm broken. I'm tore up from the floor up, and I don't know what to do. I'm in panic mode. Please take me from this. I don't want to die. My dad, who I hadn't seen for a while, I hadn't seen my family for quite some time because I was homeless for a bit. My dad happened to be in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and he was spending time with his wife. And it was a getaway kind of weekend thing. My dad loved gambling. That was his juice. And around 2 or 2:30 in the morning, he awakened. And his wife wanted to know why he was getting dressed and leaving. And he says, I need to find my son. She said, what are you talking about? Something's telling me, go find my son Peter. I got to go. It was an intuitive thought. He used to explain that something in my gut. Years later, he knew it was God. And so my dad leaves Atlantic City and treks his way to the Lower East Side of Manhattan. If anyone knows, it's a long drive. Without traffic, it's a long way, into the hood. This was a guy who used to run around with little pictures of me and pay off the crackheads and the winos and junkies, say, this is my son, here's $20, where is he? The end of the lens he went to. How dare I come into Alcoholics Anonymous and say, all I have to do today is not drink and I'm a winner. When I burned everything in my path, including people. So my dad gets to the Lower East Side, and it was later that day, or later that morning, I'm standing on the corner, and my dad drives up. He found me. And I pray I never forget this. Normally my dad was a barker. He'd holler, and his voice would intimidate a lot of people. He did no hollering that day, but he drove up and just called my name, and the first thing that comes out of my mouth is, I'm okay, I'm fine. He got out of the car and walked towards me, and when he got to me, I collapsed. I kind of fell into his arm. My whole body went limp. And I remember he had his hands under my arms, and he was holding me up, and I knew it was over. And I was so grateful. And as silly as this sounds, because I was 28 back then, While my dad was holding me up, I felt safe like a little kid would close to his dad who was going to protect him. I felt safe for the very first time in my entire life. And my dad kept repeating something over and over and over again. He kept saying, I'm not going to lose my son to this. I'm not going to lose my son to this. I'm not going to lose my... Kept repeating this over and over and over again. And I got placed in my 7 treatment center. Now, I didn't have insurance to go to treatment. And I certainly had no money to go to treatment. But my dad would go into his pocket and pay, save my son. We had a really, really rocky relationship when I was growing up. I was convinced he hated me, and I knew I hated him. And because of Alcoholics Anonymous, we bonded, especially after the amends step. And we had a fabulous relationship until he passed a few years ago. I owe that all to God and Alcoholics Anonymous. And I got into my 7 treatments, and I will tell you, about 10 days, 2 weeks in Amityville, Long Island, my alma mater, that treatment center. 7 times I went to the same place. They thought I worked there. I'm getting thirsty again. See, my alcoholism tells me what it's going to do for me, not to me. And I'm thinking, if I can just get a little drinky poo in me, or a couple of bumps or something, the edge would come off, and I can go to group and talk about my family, my inner child, all my feelings and all this other stuff. And they says, we need to get you out of New York. They talked about something, people, places, and things. And I thought that was therapeutic nonsense. It's actually quite real. There's a whole chemical reaction that goes on with that, and that's for another day. And they sent me out to Minnesota, where I heard this message. And I've been coming back since. But my first drink, how I got to a hallway. I grew up in Brooklyn, and back in the day, I remember the late 60s, early 70s. It was a really cool time. We had rock and roll and Motown. It was before disco, and MTV ruined everything. It was a really cool time. Yeah. I have no idea what kids are listening to now. It's great concern. But we hung out on street corners and schoolyards, and they would drink Colt 45 beer. And in the summertime, everyone would be hanging out. I remember you get all dressed up to go down to the corner with like $2 in your pocket and model for like 4 hours. You know, everyone turned into like a gangster, you know. And the guys would roughhouse and flirt with the girls, and the music was going. You had one end of the dial, you had, say, the Four Tops or Marvin Gaye, then you flip it over, you have the Beatles in the door. What a cool scene. And I watched the older guys and gals have fun, and I wanted what was being produced in them by drinking Colt 45 beer. Because what was happening to me back then was not good. I had just lost my mom, so I'm walking around with this pain that I can't even describe. And nowadays, we're a lot more aware and liberal about pain and dysfunction and trauma. And I think if we took a poll, almost all of us probably have some sort of trauma. That doesn't make me an alcoholic, but it's a blueprint for how I'm going to go out into life. So my mom committed suicide at 14. I was being molested from ages 8 to 10 in the basement of my grandmother's house by somebody. You're keeping this all a secret. I'm terrified of my dad. I'm a gifted musician. God gave me a talent with music. I was in like the 6th grade playing like a half a dozen different instruments with no lessons. I just know how to do it. And I got some applause for that. But when that would die down, I'm stuck with me again. So I'm not okay. You know, fear-based and insecure, self-centered, uncomfortable, in the crowd. Oh my God, I need to get out of here, hide in the corner. And then one night I picked up a quart of beer. I'd never been drunk before, but I started to drink Colt 45 beer. And halfway through the quart of beer, I'm experiencing something I never experienced before. It was nice. I was looking at the world and seeing the world through that. That really uncomfortable kid who didn't have a design for living that world, who had no idea how to operate in the world, who was really uncomfortable or raw nerves, self-conscious. Have you ever been so self-conscious that as you're talking to somebody, there's a party going, well, that was dumb? And you're second-guessing everything you say, and you're twitching, you don't know what to do. I got to get out of here. That was me. That's the kid who walked in here in a 28-year-old body, physically sober. And what I learned the hard way is being physically sober has very little to do with being a recovered alcoholic. Not cured, but recovered. And so I finished this quart of beer, and I'm drunk, and I can feel drunk, I know drunk, I taste drunk for the very first time. It's warm and fuzzy. I like the effect being produced by it. I got taller and better looking. All the girls I thought wanted me in the worst way. What are you laughing for? I probably flirted with some of the older girls, and I was a little knucklehead. They got a kick out of it, but I thought I had arrived. I wasn't thinking about the pain of my mom or the fear on my dad or what happened to me as a little kid. I was very present to the moment. I love the effect produced by it, but I know nothing about this phenomenon called craving. It's unbelievable how Big Book gives us 53 pages about step one. Doctor's opinion, about 10 pages or so, and 43 pages. All about step one, how deep the roots go. I get stuck in more when I drink. It's called the craving. I can't get out. The first drink is ordered, and the second one screams louder all the time. And that's never going to change. But I like the effect produced by it. And I remember feeling warm and fuzzy, and I'm walking home, and I had this thought, I never want to be sober again. I'm not going to play music sober. I'm not going to school on Monday sober. I don't want to do anything sober. I want to stay in this nice, warm, and fuzzy place. I like the effect produced by it. And even in recovery, I may not realize how much bondage I'm in until I taste a little bit of freedom. This AA, probably everyone's been in at least one bad relationship. I used to think a divorce was a requirement for membership in this place. I've been in a few of those. We know what a bad relationship feels like, what it sounds like, what it looks like. It's awful. And then for whatever reason we get out of that, and we're either single and independent, or we meet somebody who really cares for us. We go, what was I doing in that relationship? Oh my God. I'm even embarrassed to talk about it. When I got drunk that night, I'm thinking, why did I stay sober for so long? I'm only 14. Why did I walk so heavy for? I found a panacea for my ills. Give me more. I want more. I know nothing about this obsession. And who ever heard of spiritual malady? I didn't learn about that till I got here. But I got it. And I tried to chase that elusive feeling. It took jails and institutions knocked on death's door in 1988. And so progression does what progression does, and the trapdoors have trapdoors. And I start drinking not just on weekends, but as much as I can. My sponsor's here. He just gave me a dirty look. I'm drinking as much as I can. I'm sneaky drinking. And I get introduced to some non-conference approved dry goods. The first one allowed me to drink a whole lot more. But I will tell you, I didn't like speedy stuff. The more numb I can get to the world, the better. I was insulated, it didn't hurt. I experienced that in Alcoholics Anonymous where the world was hurting again. It was heavy again. We live in a world of impermanence. I'm trying to control it. The delusion I walk in here is with that life is controllable and I can control it. We do it little ways by who set up the table this way, it should be that way. Who put the chairs this way, it should be that way. The business meeting's running wrong. Oh my God, a third step, they didn't cover it, emergency group meeting. I want to control everything because I'm so afraid. I got into my first treatment center, and it wasn't by some admirable act on my part where I confessed to my family I'm drinking too much. I got caught stealing from my dad. I took anything that wasn't nailed down. I'm a young guy, I'm 18, 19. And I'm already thinking like a thief, yeah? One morning I woke up and I found my dad's checkbook. It was in some closet. I took a check out, forged his name, went down to the local bodega. They knew who he was. They weren't going to tell me no, even though they knew I was lying. And I cashed the check and walked out with beer. I did it again and went to the liquor store. I thought it hit like Powerball. I'm about as sharp as a bowling ball, so I know nothing about checking statements back then. I thought when you cash a check, it kind of vanished into space and no one knew. And my dad got a checking statement. And it was all these forged checks. I remember calling home and my kid brother answered the phone. He says, bro, the old man's looking for you. What did you do now? Now, I know what I did. But I couldn't believe my dad was angry. It was only a few $100s. I didn't get, I stole. My mind wouldn't let me get that. My mind needs to stay in business. And doing the next right thing, the mind is out of work. The mind will create problems when there's no problems. And then present a solution to the problem it created. Yeah. And the same mind that digs the hole, the same mind that tells me it's going to fill the hole. And it's over and over and over again. And an outsider's watching going, what part of this don't you get? I don't know about you, but this is how my mind would work. I live in southeast Florida, where it's really warm. And I'm sitting on a couch, looking around and saying, oh my God, the palm trees are beautiful. The weather is beautiful. The beaches are beautiful. The health is good. The relationship is good. The money's good. The car is good. The neighborhood's good. Work is good. This is good. This is really good. My home group is good. I'm good. And then the mind says, how old are you now? And suddenly by noon I need to go snorkeling, hiking, fishing, and camping and be rich. And I go from bliss to bleak in 5 minutes. The part of me that creates the problem is not where I go to solve the problem, and I've been almost programmed to do that. I'll figure it out. Let me think about this. I'll figure it out. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Because down the rabbit hole I go, but that's what I was doing back then. So my dad finds me, and I'm sitting in the car with this young lady I met the night before. So I'm in love or stalking. And I thought I was really a man's man. I was kind of like, I describe myself as trying to look Gucci on the outside, but really Walmart on the inside. And I got my shirt open down to my navel. I had no hair on my chest, but I thought it was, you know. I got the fake jewelry on, the seats rolled back, the windows are down, the music's all the way up. You got to put your hand on top of the steering wheel. Anyone from New York knows what, you know. And I thought I was a player. And she's looking at me and I'm looking at her and I'm just grooving on me, basically. And then the old man drove up. And this is a guy who doesn't smile when he's happy. And he screamed my name. And I handle it like any player would. And it was, honey, that's my dad. You talk to him. I'm running away. And my dad caught me. I blamed her. I blamed the guys in the neighborhood. I threw out the trump card. Mom died. I don't know what I'm doing. He said, I understand that. I'm going to put you in a treatment center. And that's how I went to this place in Amityville for 28 or 30 days. I didn't concede to my innermost self I'm an alcoholic. And the thing about running around with untreated alcoholism while we're not only using, actively using, but in here, being untreated, we're not connected to a God. I'm connected to me and my mind again, is that I feel like I'm apart from God. And what this work allows me to do is feel like I'm a part of God. There's no two-ness, there's oneness. There's no separateness, there's oneness. In reality, I cannot be separate from the power which I'm connected to. But my mind says, yeah, there's a separation. I'm here, and God's somewhere over there. Worry about him when you die. So I did 30 days or 28 days at the spin dry, and I got drunk in an hour. My throat. Hope I make this talk. I had that same girl meet me at the doors. Honey, I'm coming home. Like I did a state bid upstate somewhere, you know. Like I did 5 years at Attica or something. If anyone knows the place, I can't mention it from the podium. It's a nice posh place. It's a private psych hospital with a little treatment center in there. And they take you to the gym, and you go play tennis, and I'm like, I did my time up there. And she met me, cracked the seal, and started drinking. And the allergy was right back. What I found out, like most of my lessons the hard way, even though I'm sober a while, alcohol is always progressing. If I, God forbid, was to pick up a drink, it would be as if quickly I resemble someone who's been drinking for over 37 years. That's not a good picture. And then I made my second treatment center. Then I made my third treatment center. I'm walking into my third treatment center with marks all over me from some outside issues I'm putting in my body. I got a hole in my arm. And I'm drinking and I'm eating. I got the trifecta. I got narcotics, pills, and booze. And I can't get out. When our book says we have to concede to our innermost self that where alcohol is the first step in recovery, I did. Going into my 5th treatments, I know what I am. A blind man can see what I am. I know what I am. And I made many firm resolutions, a decision, I'm going to turn over a new leaf. And as soon as I get out of treatment, I did it again. I never picked up the first drink drunk. I was always sober. The most insane thing I can ever do is from a place called sober. And that's pick up another drink. And soon as I think I got it locked, that'll never happen to me, I just took a giant leap towards the next drink. God could and would if he was sought. What am I doing to seek God, yeah? Walking into my 5th treatment center. At this point, I weigh about 130 pounds. I'm a little over 200 now. 130 pounds, I got hepatitis C, and I'm urinating blood. And they're really concerned about internal damage. What's going on? Why are you doing this? All sorts of testing. And they told me, listen, 28, 30 days is not going to work for you. You've done that. We need to keep you here longer. Maybe something will happen. A transformation will happen. We're trying to save your life. Now, when you're in treatment and your counsel says we're going to extend your stay, it's a death sentence. I got to get things to do. And they held me in this treatment center for 9 weeks, 9 consecutive weeks, in an inpatient lockdown treatment center. You know, guys, you know your life's not going well when your side of the door doesn't have a doorknob. This is not good. So after 9 weeks of being in this treatment center, you know what? You're bathing, you're eating, you go in a group, they're taking you to the gym, going to another group, get some buzzwords. I'm starting to sleep. Except I had one problem. I still thought I can run my life. My higher power back then was a guy named Don Johnson. And there was a show, all the folks remember this one, there was a show called Miami Vice. I want to turn my will over to care of Don. I want to look like Don. And so H and I would bring meetings in on a Friday night at 8 o'clock. Miami Vice went on at 9 o'clock. This was a huge inconvenience to me. So I would write on the eraser board, Miami Vice, 9 p.m. speakers, please leave promptly. I conceded to my innermost self. I know what I am. I want to stop though. And somewhere during those 9 weeks, I figured I can probably safely drink. And they discharged me after 9 weeks. And as soon as I hit the fresh air, I realized I don't have a clue what to do. I have no money. I have lint in my pocket. I have no girlfriend to call. I'm obviously not married. I'm obviously unemployed. My family is not talking to me. I don't know what to do. So you make the collect call home and you negotiate. And my dad says, just get in a cab. I'll pay it when you get home. We'll figure out what we're going to do with you. And when I walked in the house, my kid brother looked at me and said to my dad, what's he doing here? He's going to ruin everything. They were doing fine without me. It was a cold slap in the face is what it was. And I'm in my dad's house for Saturday and Sunday, and only an alcoholic knows what I'm talking about. I'm crawling out of my skin because I need a drink. This was a bad decision to come to my dad's house. If he could have put a leash on me to keep me from hurting me, he would have. I can't eat, I can't sleep, I can't talk, I'm tossing and turning. I got to get out of here. I need something to take the edge off, just to take the edge off, just to kind of get me in the groove so I can function. I have no program, I have no guy, I got nothing going on. I'm just a raw nerve, a sober body is all I am. And on Monday morning, I got up really early and snuck out of the house and took a car that didn't belong to me and headed for South Brooklyn. I knew a liquor store, I used to frequent there. And I always like to share this story because if you will, I kind of came eyeball to eyeball with my demons of alcoholism. I got it, what they were talking about. The plan was to get 1 pint of whiskey, drive home, ditch the car, and chill. 1 pint. How much damage can that do? That was the setup. The ambush came. And so I'm parked and I'm waiting. It's still dark out. I'm waiting for the sun to come up. I'm waiting for the guy to open up his store. I'm starting to get more agitated. And my heart's starting to race and I have anxiety. My belly's feeling upset. My forehead is starting to sweat. My hands are getting clammy. I get out of the car and I'm literally pacing up and down the sidewalk with a lot of venom. When is he going to get here? When's he going to open up? I need a drink. I need a drink. I don't need a drink. The mind, the obsession was so loud, it began to feel physical. I feel like I'm going through a withdrawal. Well, he finally showed up, and I went in there and bought a pint of whiskey. And I finished it right away. And it worked. Yeah. I can breathe again. Whew. I'm back in the saddle. The problem is I had to go back in and get a second pint of whiskey. I'm not getting out. I am not getting out because the craving is on. The obsession took me back to the craving. Now I'm stuck in more and I can't get out. I went on a really, really bad debacle. I got arrested a few times. Quite frankly, it was my dad's connections and money that kept me from going to prison. I wasn't a violent drunk. I didn't carry guns. But when you show up with a judge, in front of the judge a bunch of times, they put you away. I never did prison time. Got arrested a few times. Beat up a bunch of times. And now I'm making my yets. I didn't do that yet, now I'm doing that. I didn't do that yet, now I'm doing that. And it became just a life. And I had a horrific bottom. And I go into my 6th treatment center. And this was an interesting one because prior to that, I'm oblivious to the pain I caused my family. I'm oblivious for the most part of what I've done to my life. I was so far in. What's interesting, I can come into Alcoholics Anonymous and get back so far into life that I miss life and I miss God. I never stop and practice a pause and just be. And give recognition to this spirit that has given me all of this. Got to get to work, raise the kids, got to do this, pay the bill, all good stuff. But that becomes my life rather than that power. And a pause of recognition that I'm one with this power and there is no separation anymore. And the one who's anxious is the mind. The one who's afraid is the mind, because God doesn't get afraid and God doesn't get anxious, and I'm part of that. God has no stepchildren. I'm sitting in my 6th treatment center. I walked out after 36 hours. Same place in Amityville. They pleaded with me, don't leave. But I realized the damage I had done. I'm not getting out from it. This is bad. I'm looking in the mirror at my body. I'm skin and bones. You know, the sunken cheeks, the bags under the eyes. I need a haircut. I need a shower. I'm in the same clothes. I'm embarrassed. I can't even look. And then, you know, the guy looking back or the woman looking back at us, when we look in the mirror, those eyes don't lie. It sees right through it all. And I look in the mirror and go, oh my God, how did I get here? And I walked out after 36 hours and I was in some flea bag motel in Staten Island, New York, and some woman took pity on me, said take my room. It was up above a nightclub, real swanky joint. And one night I went to steal from her purse. She was a barmaid. And I found a bunch of Valium and I ate them. And I got into bed. I was about to go out the same way my mom did. And God interrupted my death. And now I'm on the streets. No one wants to touch me. It's a very interesting thing that happens to us. I remember rolling through the streets at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning like a madman. And it's like you can scream as loud as you want, no one hears you. And when you're homeless, if anyone here has been homeless, you become a non-person. People just walk past you. My wife and I feed the homeless lot. We give them money. And sometimes we're driving, we get off the exit off of 95 going to a meeting. And there's a bunch of homeless folks. And we'll roll down the window. Very discreetly, I'll give them some money. And one of us will say, hey, what's your name? And they stop. No one's asked them their name in a long time. My name's Frank. I'm Peter's my wife, Marion. Just doing a red light. Dignity was brought to them. Because that's God's kid too. Oh, we'll clean up a drunk in here. But why shouldn't I do it to somebody outside? I don't know if they're going to do it. The money's none of my business. So I'm on the streets after my 6th treatment center. And then June 23rd, 1988 showed up. And I was given this new way of life. I will tell you, in recovery, I've been married and divorced. I've had some health scares, one not too long ago. Thank God everything is well. I lost my dad. Watched my brother go through this Parkinson's thing. My other brother has some mental health issues. We got him fixed up. The longer you're around here, you bury a lot of people who were here, and not by natural causes. But I walk into my home group, which is no problems, just solutions, on a Wednesday night in Boca Raton, and I'm the happiest guy in the world. And I get home at night to a woman I absolutely adore that I met in Alcoholics Anonymous. I was living in New Jersey. I sponsored a guy in a town called Bellingham, Washington. Never even heard of it. 6 months went by. My group wants you to come out and speak. They flew me out to Seattle. It was about a 42-day drive to get to Bellingham. And I met Marion. So I went for AA commitment and came home with a wife. Do service. She's the joy of my life. She's wonderful. Sometimes I got to pinch myself and how God put someone so wonderful in my path. Our house is like a phone room. She's got her girls, I got my guys. We're going to meetings. We both of us are speaking at conferences. We're doing things like this. Right in the middle, that's where God put us, and we love it. You know? And we're getting, you know, I'm 66. My wife just turned 66. We look at life a little different, you know? Appreciate many things. I've always said this, there's a lot more road behind me than in front of me, but there's a lot more God in front of me than behind me, so I'm very grateful. I'll just share something. I don't know how I'm doing on time here. I probably overshot the mark. But I will tell you, how am I doing? I'm good. The practice of prayer and meditation. The power that's behind it. Where a guy like me can go into darkness to see and silence to hear. In order for me to touch the things out there and see clearly what's out there, I first need to touch the power that's in here. And there were many riddles in my life about what happened to my mom. They told me heaven. I don't know what that means. I never got to say goodbye to my mom. We woke up to terror one morning. She was gone. I was furious with God. I remember one time being in a blind drunk, sitting on the edge of a bed before I got thrown out of this little apartment I was living in, and screaming at God, cursing at God. You ripped me off. I want one hug. You couldn't even give me that. You so-and-so. I negotiated with God. Let my mom come down right now, hug me, and I'll quit drinking. That obviously didn't happen. I finally get sober in 1988, and my sponsor, my first sponsor, threw us all right into prayer and meditation. We were doing 10 steps and nightly review right out of the gate, even though we didn't have a fourth step yet. I started working with this practice of meditation. I quickly found I was attracted to it, and I liked what it did. It was good soul food. And what I also started doing right out of the gate was, for some reason, I moved. I'm called, and when we're called, we can't get away from it. I'm a Catholic, and I would go to my church, not for Mass. I'm an active member of my church now for a number of years, very active. But I wasn't so much back then. But I would go to the church when no one was in there. I light 2 candles, one for my mom and one for the sick and suffering. I'm working with meditation. I'm doing this every single week, going to church, lighting 2 candles. One for my mom, one for the sick and suffering. I did this for 9 years without putting any thought into it. Just any church. And one day I go into meditation like I do every morning. I was doing, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 minutes. And one day I get taken in this meditation to a beach. And the cool thing about meditation is a point where we know we're meditating, and then we know when we're done. And every once in a while we get taken to this other place beyond space and time. We're in it. And I found myself sitting on a beach. And God knows I love being by the beach. I feel safe there. I love the sound of it. And I'm sitting on the beach. And off on the horizon I see the carpenter walking towards me. And literally out of his chest appears my mom. My sponsor told me that's oneness. And when they get close to me, I become this little 8-year-old kid. And my mom kneeled down on one knee and gives me a hug. Now, for the men, when you're 7, 8, 9, 10, and mama hugs you, you're gold. No one can touch you. There's nothing like that in the whole... Dad's cool, but something about mama hugging you after a tough day. And I stood up and I became an adult, and my mom hugged me again. The carpenter put his arm on my shoulder. We went eye to eye. There were no words spoken through the whole meditation. I don't even know I'm meditating at this point. I'm part of this. And although there were no words spoken, he tells me she's okay, she's with me. And I don't have the adjective to adequately describe the euphoria I'm experiencing. And then what my mom did was point off to the horizon this way, to hundreds upon hundreds of flickering lights, and then pointed that way to hundreds upon hundreds of flickering lights. And she held on to me one more time. She was weeping tears of joy. This I do know. They walked away, became one. I came out of meditation, I found myself weeping. Till this day, I don't know how long I was in there. But I was confused. So what do? You call your sponsor. I told him what just happened to me. That's when he said, oneness. Your mom and God, oneness. I said, what about these lights? He says, haven't you been lighting candles for your mom for 9 years now? I said, yeah. He says, she got them. And I remember that moment. I flipped in that moment. I changed. Something happened. Knowing that I'm known by my Creator is a tremendous amount of freedom. There was no more separateness. There was oneness. And all I am is a spoke in a wheel. I plow the field. God does the growing. Chop wood, carry water. Chop wood, carry water. And God goes, now. Now. I've never been the same. I'm happy to report to you, based on my experience and countless others, it's not a one-shot deal. Here's your experience, now leave me alone. They keep coming. In fact, God's talking to us all the time. We're not listening. I can't find God's will. Stop and listen. I don't know what God wants of me. Stop and listen. Practice a pause. So everything has changed for me. You're looking at someone who's broken and flawed. Let me just tell you that. I haven't met any perfect people yet. I'm the car that when it drives away, there's a big oil spot on the ground. The doors squeak, the windows squeak. I get afraid. I get, I get that. It's just part of the human condition. But what tremendous liberation in coming to terms with how broken and flawed I am. It's the way He made it. Make me need Him more and make me more useful to you, because what we hook into is our shared brokenness when we're in Alcoholics Anonymous. You don't need a glossy speaker reciting the big book. I want to know who you are and what you're doing. Then you can quote the book. So, in closing, someone gave me a book a long time ago. It has nothing to do with Alcoholics Anonymous. I read it. I almost wept because for me, it's us. And the author writes this: may I become at all times, both now and forever, a protector for those without protection, a guide for those who have lost their way, a ship for those with oceans to cross, a bridge for those with rivers to cross, a sanctuary for those in danger, a lamp for those without light, a place of refuge for those who lack shelter, and a servant to all in need. I live like a servant and try to give like a king. My name is Peter. I'm an alcoholic.